Hello, you're listening to From McClay to Zelma. I'm your host, Karen Miller. This podcast is about the adventures and travels of two women from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, who work for the U.S. Army at Zama, Japan. Their stories are told through hundreds of letters written home. Welcome to episode 12, Korea No, letters 27 to 29. As I sit here recording this episode, I'm sipping tea from one of the incredibly delicate china cups that Byrne discusses buying in letter 27. I think she gave them to me in the early 1990s when I had a huge built-in china cabinet in the house I was living in. They are so thin that you can see light through them. She mentions her brother Duff again, who was a ceramic engineer. I love how Byrne is always recommending books for her parents, while Peg talks about records and music. Maurice Walsh, who is an author that Byrne mentions, was an Irish novelist who wrote the short story The Quiet Man, which was eventually made into a movie with John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara. I also remember the cushions that she talks about buying. We used to get them out when we had our evening stacks before bed and sit on them on the floor. Only the best of aunts feed you Coca-Cola and pretzels when you're a small child so that you sleep better. Clearly, the weather in 1950s Japan was pretty erratic. Wasn't it just the last episode when Peg was complaining about a heat wave? Now they're wearing cool clothing and talking about how cold it is. I was happy to hear that Peg finally bought the organ. Music was such an important part of her life. She gave me their music cabinet in 1995 when I was living in New York. And it sat for years beside my piano in various locations. It contained a lot of sheet music when I got it as well, which I still have, and moved around with me until it had a catastrophic structural failure. I salvaged the cabinet door and the top drawer, and now they're in my recording studio being used as a shelf. Their oldest brother, Dan, and his wife, Margaret, must be living in St. Louis at this time, as they mentioned having someone call them to say hello. I think these phone calls are so sweet. It must be so difficult to not be able to make phone calls to your loved ones, something that we certainly take for granted today. Byrne recently complained about noise in the billet. Funny that Peg is now contributing to the racket with her organ and doesn't seem too concerned about it. I wonder how close their rooms are to each other. Byrne mentions that they work about a half a mile apart. And now it's time for letters 27 to 29. Letter 27 is from Byrne, written August 25th, 1953. Hi, John D. Harnish. You are just plain spoiled. Because Peggy writes on the average of twice a week, you figure I should too. By this time, you should realize she has about 10 times more energy than I. And besides, there is a library right next to the building in which I work. Need I say more? You might try to get a hold of some books by Maurice Walsh. You would enjoy his type of writing, I believe. Hallelujah! The box arrived today. Peg invited everybody she saw to the unveiling of it, and we had a lot of fun. I am now sitting in the blue room, my own, and she has named hers the green room. She and Jeanette are over at the bowling alley, and I've just come back from the movies. I saw Down Among the Sheltering Palms. It's very rainy, damp, and really cold, so I took a hot shower and then made myself some Nestle's cocoa in my spinner pot. It was delicious. Let me tell you about the dishes I bought. A set of 6 pear-shaped trays with a ridge for holding a cup, 6 cups, a coffee pot, a cream pitcher, and a sugar bowl. The background is pale blue, and there's a lovely delicate pattern of birds and flowers. I fully realized that my big brother Duff would disapprove, but I like to eat. In order to eat, one must have dishes. So they're very fragile, but if they're intact, you'll see them when I return. Written the next afternoon at work. See, Pop, it's all Peg's fault that I don't write more often. She, Jeanette, and Ruby came in from bowling. They were hungry, so we all went to Peg's room and ate peanut butter crackers, cheese spread crackers, olives, Nescafe, Nestle's cocoa, and tea. You see, our box from home with the bedspreads, etc., arrived yesterday, and we felt it called for a celebration. So we celebrated. Now we know that boxes from there take 3 to 4 weeks to get here, right? Here are our plans for the immediate future. Tonight we play bingo at the NCO club. The Army plays bingo someplace, somewhere, every day of the year, I do believe. Tomorrow night we'll go into Yokohama and try to buy some cushions. We use our beds a great deal. No, not to sleep, but to sit upon, to read and write letters, and to seat our guests when we have more than 2 at a time. A few bright-colored cushions will add to the look of the rooms and will come in quite handy. Peg also plans to make quite a large purchase tomorrow, but I'll let her tell you about that. We plan to go to Tokyo over the weekend, this time sightseeing. The Imperial Palace Gardens and Park and perhaps a stage show are on the agenda. The weather has turned much cooler. That's why we feel like running around again. In fact, it is cold enough today to wear sweaters and suits in the office. Probably the result of some typhoon off the coast. As yet, we have not experienced a typhoon firsthand. We are not in the immediate flood area either. However, there must be much suffering and destruction in southern Japan. Almost every week there is a drive on to collect funds for flood relief. I believe Peg sent you her maid's note. Wasn't it funny? I like this sign best, though. It was seen over a tailor's shop in Tokyo and said, "Women have fits upstairs." One booth along Izaki Street in Yokohama was advertising indelible ink, and the sign said, "Wash, no come off for anything." The other box containing hats, alarm clocks, and fresh, crisp crackers arrived today. Thanks a million, Helen. Any large package should be addressed to Peg because her mail is received at work, and she is right across from our billet while I'm a half-mile down the road. This camp is murder on shoes. It's cold. I'm going to bed. Good night. Lots of love. Burn. Letter 28 from Peg, written the 27th of August, 1953. Dear Mother and Daddy, first of all, thanks loads for the box. We got them yesterday and today. The pretzel and crackers are just wonderful and crispy. The bedspreads are real nice, and they fit into our decorating scheme as if you saw our rooms before you bought them. The hats were kind of crushed, but they'll be okay. They'll be okay after they're unpacked a while. We drank a hot chocolate this morning, and it tasted delicious. We haven't been able to find time to read the papers yet, but we've hidden them from our maids so they don't throw them away by accident. The clothes bags will be very handy, but I have to get more hangers before I can use them. All in all, it sure was fun unpacking, and everything is most appreciated. I bought my organ tonight. It will be delivered tomorrow, and I can hardly wait. I paid 16,000 yen for it, and he gave me the bench as a presento. Vern bought me a book of music, and he gave me a piece of sheet music as another presento. So I think I made out okay. I put in a bid for a bigger room across the hall, and I should move tomorrow or Saturday, so pretty soon I'll be all fixed up. Tonight we also bought pillows. I told you I was going to buy some for 1,200 yen each, but the other night we came across a shop that sold darling pillows for 300 yen each. So tonight I bought 4 and Vern bought 3. They're real colorful and are made real nice. Daddy, before I forget it, will you please send me 2 music books? One is my hymn variations, and the other is the variations on Christmas carols. Unless you've moved them, they should be in the cabinet next to the piano. And if you come across that little book of community sing numbers, you can send that too. But don't send the big green book because it's kind of beat up, and I want it to be usable when I come home. Thanks a lot. I can hardly wait. I can stay away from playing for a while, but then I miss it, and my fingers get real itchy. My colonel is a character. He doesn't want me to go to Korea. Why, I don't know, but doing his best to talk me out of it. He says I should stay here and get Dottie's number 5 job in November. And the girl who is a 6 is going to home soon too, and he told me I might even get that job. Today he told me that he and Ann Engel were talking about me on the train this morning, and he said that it's office gossip that I stand a good chance of moving right along because, now get this, I always have a smile and something nice to say to everyone, which is more than Dottie ever did or some of the other girls. Personally, I think he's just twisting my arm so that I'll stay, but it was nice to hear it anyhow. I imagine I will stay here, but when I have bad days, I tell myself that things couldn't be worse in Korea, and I feel it getting on the first plane. When he's in the office, though, we have long talks, and then I enjoy my day. He's kind of gruff to people, but I told him today that I could see through him and that it was just an act in order to keep people on their toes. But I told him I wouldn't give his secret away. He also said he thinks it will be a good idea for him and I to go in business and sell things when we get back to the States. We'll sell all kinds of insurance, stocks, and oil wells yet to be dug, real estate, and patent an elixir for poultry, cattle, and hogs. It was all a bunch of nonsense, but I guess he likes to pretend, and you know I do, so we got a big laugh out of it. He's pretty nice, and he's the only married man I have ever heard say that he only regrets that he didn't get married sooner. He and Sugar get along fine, and that's certainly nice to hear for a change. This afternoon, I had to go to the bathroom, so I went to the billet, and a papa-san was working around the pipes. I went in to see Mrs. Hedrick to get her to ask him to leave. She just laughed and said, "Come on, I'll go with you." So we went back to the barracks and went into the bathroom and went about our business. Papa-san was there too, but Mrs. Hedrick said that it's a natural thing for them and they don't mind, so we shouldn't either. So I went back to the office and told Major Forsyth, the dietitian, about it. And she said that she went in this morning to go and didn't even give Papa-san a thought. Then she happened to think, what if I do that when I get back to the States? I told her that she's been here for entirely too long to take such things for granted. So we all had a big laugh over it. These people just make themselves invisible when they get the urge, even if it's right in the heart of town. At times, I think I'll go all Oriental altogether. They have some darn good customs. We're just about freezing these days. We're having cold, rainy weather. Some people say it's a cold wave from Siberia, and others say it's part of a typhoon. But whatever it is, it's wet. I'm very tired and sleepy, so I'll close now. Thanks again for the boxes. Oh, by the way, Catherine Schur is in Tokyo, and we don't miss her a bit. Love, Peg. You might remember Catherine from the trip over, the one that they seemingly pretended to like because her parents are maybe friends with their father. I don't know. Okay, letter 29, written on the 31st of August, 1953. Dear Mother and Daddy, well, I got it. And is it ever cute? I'm talking about the organ, in case you didn't guess. It came on Friday, and Mrs. Curata, the billet office lady, told me she heard it playing and thought I'd come over from work to check and see if it was okay. So she went back to my room and knocked on the door, and there were a bunch of the maids having a ball. She told me to leave a note to tell them to let it alone, but I guess they like music too. Anyhow, I moved across the hall to a bigger room on Saturday, and since then I've had a regular open house. Everyone wants to see where the music is coming from, so I show them. They try to play, and then I have to play for them. More fun. I just hope no one plans to sleep in the early part of the evening, because it ain't possible now. We're spending the evening at home, writing letters, etc., but it sure isn't a quiet evening at home. The sun finally came out again after a week of rain. We almost froze last week. In fact, I wore a winter suit to Tokyo yesterday. But now I'll go back to wearing cottons. This damn weather, if it isn't one extreme, it's the other. You will probably be interested in the enclosed clipping from the Stars and Stripes. Colonel Soller is one of my bosses. He's real nice. And where it says about permission being obtained for the operation of the SGO, well, I wrote that letter. Rather, Colonel Soller dictated it to me. Dee Beckman, a woman who lives across the hall, is leaving for the States, lucky gal, tomorrow. Her home is in St. Louis, so Bert and I asked her to call Dan and Margaret for us. She said she'd be delighted to, so won't they be surprised? It's a really small world, as they say so often over here. My colonel, Van Tool, is a buster. He's really plaguing for me to get that 5 job of Dottie's. Today he told me that he told another colonel in our office, Colonel Francher, the medical consultant, to give me some work to do in order to benefit from my efficiency. I guess the old boy doesn't want me to go to Korea, and I don't think I will, but it won't hurt to keep him dangling for a while. Ann Engel, who does the monthly mimeographed reports and the monthly medical bulletin for ABB, is going home for a visit. Her home is in Reading, Pennsylvania. She asked if I would be interested in taking over her job while she's away. She told her colonel that she thought I could do the job because I help her with the stuff when I'm not busy. I don't know what, if anything, it will mean, but at last I'm convinced that they know I'm around and that my work is okay. I told you this is far from a quiet evening. Jeanette's been in about 12 times so far, and I just can't concentrate anymore. I owe letters to Kitty Snyder, Edna Mangle, and Shirley and Dick Garland, but Colonel V is going away tomorrow, so I'll just write them at work. Yes, I know the Japanese were here first, but they can have it. Love, Peg. P.S. John, you owe us letters. I hope you're enjoying the podcast, and if you are, please subscribe in Spotify. On Apple Podcasts, hit the plus button in the top right-hand corner and rate. This will help my listeners find my podcast more easily. You can access the show's website at www.FromMcClayToZama.com, and the podcast is now available on iHeartRadio, Pandora, and Amazon Music as well. In the next episode, episode 13, called Superstitions, you will hear letters 30 to 33. I hope you have a great week.